Today we're going to talk about how to develop some efficiencies in writing your appraisal. So we're using an actual assignment to illustrate some of this. This is a property that is being sold, and so we need to determine what kind of information we need to prepare to go out into the field and inspect this property. So the first thing I'm going to do is log into my MLS system, which has been preset to upload data for Spark in this case. I'm looking to see if this property was listed for sale in the MLS. So I'm going to type in a portion of the street address and see what comes up. Okay, in this case it is here as a pending sale, and then I've got some historic sales that have taken place over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the one that I want, and I'm going to export it. I'm going to come and select, in this case, Spark, and export it to the Spark field. Now you'll see that it's now put that in a, I put this in my download folder. And I know a little bit about the property from the MLS and from public records. In this particular case, if we look at the property in terms of the physical characteristics, so that I can determine what kind of comparable sales I want to consider in performing this appraisal, that's something that I can do. So I'm going to go back to the results, hopefully, and so I'm back to the MLS, and I can see some of the information about how large the home is, a little bit of information on how big the lot is, and a little bit of information on when the property was built. I can see in this case it's got an in-ground pool, which is going to be something I'm going to want to consider. Now I'm going to set this up so that some of this information is going to be put back into the report from the Spark application, but I'm just trying to get a good enough idea so that as I start to set up my filters for selecting comparables, I can do that. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to set up my search criteria. I want the under contracts as well and the sold. I'm going to go back a year. I can go back further, but in this case I'm going to go back a year. This is a single level home. It was built, oh gee, let's see, when was it built? I'm going to go into my work file because I've got the county record information in there as well, and so I can look at the information there, and it's telling me it was built in 2012. So as I'm deciding when to select comps, I may go back 5 or 6 years, 2008 to maybe 2018. I may change these criteria as I have a better idea of how much data is available. At this point I'm going to start just to see what's within about a mile of the property. So I've identified the address within a mile. I don't have very much information, which is surprising. Okay, so in looking at this, I've discovered this is a two-story home. So if I come in and select I want two-story homes, this was built in 2012, so I want maybe something from 2008 or 9 up to maybe 2018. Try to give myself a fairly big bracket. Now with that, I see that I have quite a bit of data. I've got 123 matches, which is probably a little more than I need. So I'm going to go to like 75, 3/4 of a mile. That gives me 69. I might want a little more than that. Let's go 0.8, 79.9. Yeah, that works. That's 95 matches. What I want is enough data so that I can develop a reliable trend result. This property has a pool, so I want to make sure that as I select the data, I can bracket some of the physical characteristics. So I'm going to go mark all of these. I'm going to export them into It's important to select now a Spark field. This has to be pre-mapped before you begin the process. So I've exported this down into my download file. So the first one is my subject information. This is my market area information. I'm going to go back to the results and reset my filters so that I have now, I'm looking for what I think I might want to use as comparable sales, and I only want to go 100 days. I'm in a market that's seen rapid price increases, so I've got 32 matches that fit this criteria. Initially, I want to sort by proximity, and so I've got, and I know that my property is being sold for $430,000. It's 1,800 square feet. It does have a swimming pool. I'm not sure if some of these sales do. I can always come in and look at my map results, which sometimes is handy to do. That way I can pop this up and see if it has. In this case, it does not have a pool, which may explain some of the price difference, but I'm going to select that as a comp. It's in the same subdivision. I think I may want to select this one as a comp in the same subdivision. I've got a property that is under contract. It's quite a bit smaller. I'm not sure I want to use that one. I've got one here that is it's quite a bit smaller. I may or may not use that. I may come back to that in a minute. This one is one that is in the subdivision. It's smaller, lower price. We'll select that. And now I'm going to come back out a little bit and look to see what else I have that I might be able to use as a comp. Here's one that I think I probably want to use. This one's quite a bit bigger. I may not want to use that. Let's take a look at this property, quite a bit bigger. That is a little closer, so I might want to use that. Yeah, that one's bigger. I'm not sure I want to use that. That filter I've got set is too broad, I think. This one is something that might be worth looking at. And this one might be one worth looking at. All of these are a little bigger, but so I've now got 6 properties that I've selected on this side of the roadway. I don't have anything other than in those 2 developments, so I'm going to look at some of this other data on the other side. That's probably too much. Let's see here what we've got. I'm going to have to do a little bit of filtering to decide if any of these sales are. I think I did not do a very good job on my size filter, because I think I'm getting some of these that are a little too much different size. That's maybe not too bad. In a different area, so these may not be as good as I would like them to be. Yeah. I'm going to throw this in just as a bracket. I don't love it, but it may be what I've got. And so I'm going to go back to my results view. You can see that it's showing the 7 that I've marked, and I can now look and see if there's anything else. I've got another one on the same street. Maybe I'm going to throw that in as a pending sale and see what else we can come up with. I'm going to just change my sort so that I can kind of look to see. Some of these are so much more money that I'm not sure I want to use those. Yeah, oh gee, my size filter is not very good, because some of those are really big. So I'm going to, at this point, take what I've got, and first of all, I like to print these so I can put it in my work file. I'm going to print it with full detail with photos. I'm going to print it to a PDF. this is the one thing I like about Total, is it's got the work file tab. So if I go open that tab up and I save this data, I can now just drag that over and I have all my MLS data that I had used in my Total work file. So with this, I can now go ahead and go back to the results. I'm going to export this information into the Spark field. So I'm going to export it. So you can see that I've got my subject, my area, or excuse me, my comps, my area, and my subject information. So I'm going to come over to my dashboard, open up Spark. I'm going to use today as the day. I'm going to add the subject, so I'm uploading the subject information, which is that file there. It will pull that information in. Now I can go add the comparable sales, which is that file. I'm going to upload that. You'll see that it's saying, okay, there's 8 of them. I've left one open, so I can go do some additional checking. And I am going to put in my competing properties, and that's that file. So it's going to take those 95 properties, which I may end up redoing depending upon some of this is. So what it's doing is it will now tell me, it's saying that there's a 26 per month, 22.6 per month increase, so it's obviously increasing, less than a month's supply, and 4 days on the market. It here is now telling me, and as I look at this, I'm saying, yeah, it's probably been declining a little bit. This has been increasing, this has been increasing, and that's been increasing. I've gone from 328 to 390, obviously increasing, relatively stable, increasing, increasing, generally stable, a little bit there, but probably not enough to worry about. So I've filled that out. I'm going to now hit export. Now, I've already set this up so that it's giving me the information that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go. And what'll happen is it'll give me a discrepancy report that will allow me to look at any discrepancies. In this particular case, I feel comfortable, so I'm just going to open this up and merge it. I'm going to replace whatever was in this template into this into this report. It's always a good idea to make sure that, okay, so this, I've got some files linked with the worksheet. I'm just telling it to go ahead and overwrite that. But it's always a good idea to make sure that you are putting the information in such a way that it'll make sense for you. So here's what it's dumped in. Now I'm obviously going to want to go clean this up. One of the things that I'm finding of the sales that I've selected here is that I don't think I've got any with a swimming pool, which is a little bit of a problem from a comparable perspective. So what I'm going to come back and do is, now something before I do that, let me just illustrate. This is showing the trend, and obviously we've got some outliers on some of this, but it gives me a pretty decent trend on what's going on with pricing. I'm going to put that up right next to my 1004 MC. I've got this set up so that I've taken general area trends from the FAHPI calculator to kind of show in northern Arizona it's 20.5%, southern Utah's almost 24%, and greater Las Vegas area is about 17%, about 1.5 per month. Gives me some ideas on what's going to be there. I'm going to look at my template now. This is an existing home where there's really no lot sales. I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to go ahead and set up my aerial map so that I can have a good idea where this property's at. So while it's doing that, and with my aerial map, I like to give enough of a perspective that you can see what's around the property. In this case, I'm by Highway 95. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like when we get on site, but I'm going to just kind of set this up and finish that. Now, the next thing I want to do is get the plat map. Now in Clark County, I can go to my county map. It's got a aerial GIS. I'm going to put in the address. It's going to find it. It's going to map that for me. What I've found is that if I go to the plat book and page, it will pull up the actual subdivision, which I think is a little nicer than just the aerial view. And once that gets opened up, I've got, so I'm going to just come up to the top of the page here. It's telling me that we are in lot 178 block H. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the right lot when I'm doing this. I like to blow this up so you can see what's going on. So there's 178. I'm going to make it just a little bigger. Now I'm going to come and take my snipping tool and identify the part that I want to put in the addendum, and I like to try to get it so it's close to the exhibit page size, so that when I paste it in, it fills the area. One of the handy little things that you can do in Total is that I can take a highlight. I turn the line boundary off. This is just the fill area, and I can go in and mark the corners of where that's at, and then I can fill that and then put a little subject marker. Back in the olden days, we used to use these little rub-off stickers by Forms and Worms. This is a lot faster and easier. Okay, save that image. So now I've got this marked. I can later, when I get ready to finish writing the report, put in the rest of the data. But I've got my plat, I've got my aerial stuff, I've got my information put in here. I'm going to go clean this up a little bit once I've decided how to deal with it, and I'm just getting ready to prep this file to go out and inspect the property. So I'm looking to make sure that I've got most of the physical characteristics bracketed. In this case, one of the problems I've got is that I don't have a swimming pool in the mix, and so I'm going to go back to my comps, and I'm going to let's go back to the results. I'm going to change the criteria. I should be able to come in and select whether or not the property has a pool, and so a private pool, yes. Let's see what we got. One. So what I'm going to do is go back and make my search criteria just a little broader. I'm going to go to like 1.25 miles. I'm going to come back to my criteria again. I realized that when I did this, I forgot to put my size criteria in, and so I'm going to keep it down to 50 square feet up to about 2,200 square feet. And I've got one. Not ideal, and it's the subject, so we want to go back and go, let's go 2 miles, see what we've got. Still have one. Not optimal. I'm going to go back just a little further in age. Maybe. Okay, well, we got 4 now, so that's a little better. Okay. Well, we have one that was in August. Not ideal, but I'm going to take the address on this. I'll put it in and put it in as my comp 9 if I just put this in, and then I'm going to decide if I want to use that information or not. So somebody else has already used this. I'm going to take what they've got, and then I'm going to go clean it up. Just saves a little bit of typing with this. So it's taken a minute to do this. I don't know why. So as I wait for this to finish up, I'm going to come back and print this to the to my comps. So I want to come down and print this with the photos. I'm going to print it to a PDF. I'm going to save that. Okay. Not sure the 360 view is the optimal view. Oh, great. The total bailed out on me, so we're going to have to open this back up again. That happens every now and again. If I start trying to multitask too much, sometimes it doesn't like me for doing that. But, okay, yeah, we want to open that back up. I've got 3 monitors. You can't see all of my monitors, so it's opening this back up. With any luck, anyway. Okay, we're gonna go. I'm gonna do my little Windows deal so I can move it to one side of the. I got a 28-inch 4K monitor, so it allows me to do that, and then I'm gonna also get my other windows back up here. So let's see how much we lost. Okay, wrong one. Not the file I thought, so we're going to save that. I'm going to go back to the one that I was working on. Okay. Okay, gonna go down. I'm gonna hit to put this over where I want it to be. I like it a little wider. And oh, for crying out loud, get the right file up would be handy. 48. Okay, we got it pulled up. Looks like we didn't lose too much. Get this put over on the side where you want it to be, and I'm going to look to see if this will pull the data back in for me. It transferred it. Obviously, I'm going to want to put this in the way I want it, but it's got an own solar system and a pool. It might work for me, so we'll see. So at this point, I've got most of my data set in for my preliminary inspection. The next step for me is to take and upload this to the Total Mobile. I'll finish this after I've had a chance to go inspect the property and decide what exactly it is. I hate to get involved in trying to preset too much of this, because oftentimes when you go look at the property, you discover that it's a little more involved than or different than what you think it might be. So I find that by doing this works out pretty well. So it's now uploading this with my entire work file to the cloud. I will point out that in my work file, I've got all of the information that's being uploaded is. Oh, and I forgot to get this most recent comp put in here, so I just dropped that in the file. So I've got my engagement information, assessor information, assignment details, It's got the discrepancy report from when I loaded this stuff into the MLS. It's got the original MLS information. It's got a property report from Spark. It's got the purchase contract, treasurer information. It's got quite a bit of information that is now on my tablet when I go out to do the inspection. So with that, that concludes just a basic overview on how I prep a file before I go to do the inspection, and find that having done this, a great deal of the appraisal has been completed. And now I'll go, once I've had a chance to look at the property, go start filling out some of the other portions of the report and get it to a point where now there's a few handy little tricks that you may or may not be aware of, but if you have something that is generally typical, Total will actually allow you to do large tracks. So I've got this listed as alternative 1, and you can kind of see what it's got. So if I double click that, it fills out that entire block. This is assuming that, and so the way you put that in is you just go mark it, you can save it as a quick list, and it'll fill that entire section out for you. One of the other things that I like to do is to put some typical descriptions for the site, which in this case I've got public access, so I can come in and then, okay, this one's on the south side of the street. It's level, it's got generally good physical features. I'm going to probably mention the 95. And access is available from a public surface street. If it's not, I'm going to describe the access and some of the other characteristics, just in a way to try to speed up the process of writing a site description that's kind of handy. So with all of that, I'm going to call that good, and that should be the end of this illustration on how to prep your file.